number 4 on our list, Carnell Tate, and I will put a dollar in the with the first pick jar every time I call him Carnell Lake because I know I'm going to do it 1,000 times. But Carnell Tate out of Ohio State, number 4 on our list. You had him 3, and I had him as my wide receiver 9. I'm going to let you take over here because I want you to talk about Carnell because you like him a little bit more than I do. 6'3", 191. What'd you like about him to have him all the way number 3 on your individual list?
I mean, first of all, I like the size. He's 6'3" and some change, and he's a fluid, smooth mover. So watching him move, you wouldn't guess that he's 6'3" just with the movement ability. He's got quickness, he's got burst, and he's got twitch off the ball. He's smooth, he's fluid. Now, there are little things that he's going to have to refine. I think he tips his routes, getting in and out of breaks. I think he allows his pad level to rise. And in the run game, he looks unsure at time when the picture changes, when guys insert late, he kind of fills in, but he's not unsure. So he needs a clean picture. But I think the one thing that stood out the most to me, and you look at his production, 52 catches, 733 yards, and 4 touchdowns. Now, it's known that he was the 3rd receiver on this team, but when you look at the totality of that offense, he was the 5th option behind the 2 backs as well. And so for him to have that type of production as a 5th option / number 3 receiver, I think the ceiling is definitely pointing up for him there at Ohio State. And now he's going to be the number 2 opposite of JJ Smith. And when you can imagine the type of coverage that's going to be rolled over there this year, he's going to see a lot of one-on-one matchups. He gave me the feel of a day 2 T. Higgins type pick, where he's just gonna show up and he's gonna make plays, and you're gonna look and say, wow, this guy put up some numbers. Because going into it, I would have never guessed this guy would have had 733 yards as the 3rd option on that team.
69 targets, only 3 drops as well. Incredibly consistent. T. Higgins is a good comparison because, and I'm guilty of this, and I bring it up often when we talk about T. Higgins. I fell for the fact that he didn't run particularly well at the combine or the pro day, wherever it was. And he played much faster than that. He should have been a 1st-round pick. And, as I like to say, sometimes we overthink it. But you mentioned the wide receiver view version of Ohio State and all those dudes that have come through there in the last 3, 4, 5 years and been 1st-round picks. Let me ask you this. How much of Carnell's success is a function of playing alongside Emeka and, of course, Jeremiah Smith, who you just mentioned, because he feels like a number 2 at the next level right now until he can prove otherwise, and that's not a bad thing to be. But any concern during the evaluation process, if you're going to take this guy top 50 and you're not quite certain what he's going to look like if he's the best wide receiver in the room at the next level?
No, I don't have any concern with it because, like you said, I value him the same way. I think he's potentially a number 3 early for a team, depending on where you take him, that he could be a number 2. I really believe that, and I see him that way. And sometimes in this league, and we know right now, this league plays a lot of 11 personnel. And so you need a legitimate 3 guys, right? And so you look at, and I'm going to always lean on my 49er experience because that was the one place where I saw it done up close and personal. You look at where Deebo Samuel was taken in the 2nd round, depending on whether you saw him as wide receiver 1 there, and Brandon Ayuk was a 1st-round pick. So no matter which one you see as wide receiver 1, wide receiver 2, both of those guys were taken in the top 2 rounds. And so to me, that shows that if you want a receiver, a number 1 or number 2, or even number 3 for that matter, you have to get them where you can get them and take them there. And so I don't have a problem with taking him in the top 50. You look at what Tampa Bay just did. You have Mike Evans, and you still go and take Emeka Egbuka at 19 for a guy that may start off the year as your number 3, which will eventually transition into your number 2, possibly your number 1. So you just got to take him where you can get him.
So last season, at least, Carnell played about 90% of the time outside, 10% of the time in the slot, or they moved him around. When you're talking about a number 2 or number 3, do you care about that he's played primarily outside? Of course, during the pre-draft process and during this fall, you're going to be at practice and you're going to see where he plays. You're going to talk to coaches about whether he can move around or not. But just in terms of the strict evaluation, if he's not familiar with playing the slot consistently, does that inform your decision about how you're going to evaluate him and how high or how low you might end up taking him?
No, because some of these guys are just an outside receiver or just an inside receiver. The same argument was made the other way when Justin Jefferson was coming out. He primarily played in the slot, and there were a lot of people that didn't think he could play outside. And then now we all have egg on our face for those that believe that. So these some of these guys are just playing the roles that they're asked to play, and when their role changes, we'll see how they play him this year. Maybe they move him around a little bit more, play him inside, outside, because there is going to be a slot position open in that Ohio State offense this year.
Yeah, you talk about egg on your face. I actually asked Justin Jefferson that during his NFL Combine experience about can you play somewhere else, and he very politely, he couldn't have been nicer, but it felt like he probably had answered that question before, or maybe he was just trying to point out to me for not doing my homework. He said, if you go watch the year before, I actually played a little bit outside, so I can do it. And again, wide receiver 5. You talked about Brandon Ayuk, wide receiver 6. So you don't have to be wide receiver 1 to have success. And you could argue that Marvin Harrison was wide receiver 1 his year a few years ago. Emeka Egbuka might have a better rookie season, and Marvin's wasn't bad, but the Kyler Murray experience was up and down. He was coming back from that injury. Baker Mayfield feels a little bit more consistent. We'll see how that offense looks, whether it sort of follows up on what Liam Cohen did last year. But you talked about it at the top. Quarterback matters a lot, whoever the wide receiver is. And I think that sometimes can be more important than whether you get the Marvin Harrison Jr. at the top or whether you get the Ladd McConkey 50 picks later or whatever the case may be. What are your thoughts about that in terms of we're going to keep the Ohio State conversation going. What Emeka's rookie season might look like, because he is as complete a receiver as there is coming into this rookie season.
I do, and we talk about fit, and I think he is the perfect fit for that offense, and especially not knowing where Chris Godwin is on his recovery. And Chris Godwin, low key, is the key to that passing game in Tampa. And Mike Evans is who he is, the most consistent guy we've seen in years. But Chris Godwin and everything they ask him to do, play outside, play inside, insert, big in the run game in terms of his blocking. Emeka can fill that role immediately with how he plays, and I expect big things out of him this year.